This is one that popped up today, and this to me is absolutely wild that it's anything that was even remotely suggested as being a reality. I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. I was amazed. I was appalled. I was, what the hell? Studio executives apparently suggested that Julia Roberts play Harriet Tubman in a biopic. Because there's that new there's that new movie. I think it's Tubman or Harriet. I forget what it's called. I think it's Harriet that's coming out. And they wanted Julia Roberts to play Harriet damn Tubman. What? Like I when I first read that, I was taking a drink and I almost did a spit take. I'm not even kidding you. That's how absolutely crazy it is. So let's find out more. So, multi-talented, multi-hyphenate Cynthia Erivo plays Harriet Tubman in Cassie Lemon's biopic Harriet. Okay. But according to the screenwriter, Gregory Allen Howard, Julia Roberts, yes, white woman Julia Roberts was once suggested by a studio executive to play the role. And that doesn't surprise me knowing Hollywood, right? It really doesn't surprise me. In a Q&A for Harriet, the Studio Focus features, as well as a piece for the LA Times, Howard explained that he'd been working on the script for Harriet Tubman as far back as 25 years ago, but that the climate in Hollywood was very different back then. According to Howard, the then president of a studio sub-label, praised the script and then suggested that Roberts play Tubman. He goes on to say, fortunately, there was a single black person in that studio meeting 25 years ago who told him that Harriet Tubman was a black woman. The president replied, that was so long ago, no one will know that. And, oh my God. 25 years ago was the early 1990s. It was the end of the early 1990s, right? 1994. Okay. So if you go back to look at Hollywood in the 80s and early 90s, a lot of devil's dust being floated around. You know what I mean? A lot of ideas like that happening. A lot of people out there doing the blow. Oh my God, I would assume. I would assume that this would be something that would be not as wild, but it's wild. This is the world that we live in here. This is the world that we find ourselves residing in, where Julia Roberts was being floated back in the early 90s. Again, she was at like the top of her game. We're talking post fried green tomatoes, right? You know, I think she won an Oscar for that. This is at the height of her game. And that would make sense at the time why a studio executive who doesn't know who Harriet Tubman is. Because let's be fair, when you're on that much cocaine, do you really know who anyone is? But that particular person wanted Julia Roberts, coming off of Pretty Woman. I also don't want to forget about Pretty Woman, right? So Pretty Woman Julia Roberts, right, to play Harriet Tubman, to found and work with the Underground Railroad, freeing slaves during Civil War American times, 1860s. Because, you know, that's it's terrible. You know this, they always say Hollywood's out of ideas, right? They always say Hollywood's out of ideas. Oh, Hollywood, there's no ideas left in Hollywood. It's all just remakes or rehashes and crap. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is 25 years ago, right? This was in the early 90s. What you have to understand about the early 90s in Hollywood is everyone had money. Right. That was like when the studios would be like, I really like your script, dude. And they'd toss $1 million at you. The economy was great. A lot of people doing a lot of stuff back then. I'm just saying, it's like there was money to go around. Right. So this is like an idea. They was like, let's just greenlight everything. You wonder how a movie like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot gets made. I mean, outside of Stallone getting tricked into playing it by Schwarzenegger, movies. I mean, look at how many crazy bad movies got made in the early 90s. Movies by today's standards would never have a shot in hell of getting made. 25 years ago, made. People had money. They didn't care. They had to fill a release schedule and they didn't really care. I mean, that was back in the day when studios, that there was a competing script. And this is true. There was a competing script. A studio would throw $2 million at a writer just to buy it. And you know what they would do? Lock it in a vault. Because they just wanted to make sure that none of the other studios would get their hands on it. So they bought it for an overpriced amount, and they would huck it in a vault. That's Hollywood for you. But to go as far as to suggest that Julia Roberts play Harriet Tubman in the 90s, if I'm being fair, if I'm being real here, and I'm going to be real, this is true. You may agree, you may disagree, but I believe this is more accurate. In the 90s, if Julia Roberts were to play Harriet Tubman, she would have won a damn Oscar. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. She would have won an Oscar for that damn movie. I guarantee it. And I think I'm right. They would have been like, that was such an amazing portrayal of Harriet Tubman by Julia Roberts. She did such a good job. How she conveyed the emotion of a much older black woman during the Civil War who was freeing slaves during the Underground Railroad. She did a great job with that. She totally deserves the Oscar. Total transformation. Couldn't even tell. It was almost like it was a different actress. Because that's what they say. People make bad choices in Hollywood. As we already talked about Kathleen Kennedy tonight, I think we can agree there's a lot of that crap that goes around. This video is supported by patrons like you. If you'd like to become a patron, please head over to patreon.com/Matt Jarbo.